we now tell her good to go.
Welcome everybody. Happy New Year. I haven't seen a few faces, so Happy New Year. I'll call, before I call the meeting to order, I'd like to recognize that we are meeting on unceded Mi'kmaq territory, and we should acknowledge so. Our agenda for this evening, I'll call to order, and I guess Katrina, you're still appointed as secretary?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Declaration of conflict of interest. Anything on the agenda that would have anybody declare a conflict of interest? No. Okay. Review and approval of our agenda. Everybody received the agenda? Any reviews of it or suggestions otherwise? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Phil?
I can second.
Second?
Yep.
Megan? We're all in favor, I assume? Motion carried. Adoption of December 10th minutes. I think those were sent out as well. We don't have them up on the slideshow there, but if there's any...
I just had one comment. There was one line that I think was meant to say Jackie instead of my name. I would prefer it say Jackie. It says Megan worked over and above to prepare for the facilitation, as did the consultant, but I think it should say Jackie.
Okay.
Oh, I
Yeah.
felt
No,
like that should
Jackie's the
definitely be
consultant.
you.
Okay, or both, but Jackie should be included in that.
Sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can make that change.
Thanks.
Yeah, don't.
Can you email me that?
Yep,
please?
that's not a problem.
Thank you.
Any other changes? Motion to approve December 10th minutes
With the noted changes?
with the noted
As
changes.
amended, yeah.
Morgan,
I can motion that again.
seconder? Okay, Sheena, all in favor? Motion carried. Items for discussion. So, welcome Sandra.
Thank
We have a guest here who would like to give us a presentation. Sandra is the founder of For Love, For Care, very active in our community. So thank you for coming this evening and giving us a presentation. The floor is yours.
No, thank you so much. So, like Bernie said, my name is Sandra Snell, and I'm so honored to be here presenting to you about the community fridges. I think it would be better if I sit so I don't block the screen. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm the daughter of Sheena, and just to let you know about For Love, For Care, it is a nonprofit organization that strives to assist individuals in the community to overcome barriers such as with food on PEI. So we wanted to bring the Community Fridge program to the Charlottetown Food Council to garner your thoughts about this project and hopefully get a statement of support to expand and implement this on the island. This has been something we wanted to bring to PEI ever since we started For Love, For Care in 2018, but we lacked the resources and capacity that we now have today to implement it. I will be talking to you about what the community fridges are, the different models people have used in other parts of the world, and why it is important to bring this on PEI and what our role would be specifically. So Community Fridges is a community-run initiative with a network of fridges that offer free food to community members. It would be a network of volunteers, small business owners, and community builders to mobilize to provide hubs for community care, where neighbors can support each other directly. The concept is simple. We would put a fridge outside in an accessible location that would be stocked with fresh produce, cooked meals, and food that meets the community needs. This project would be modeled based on a give what you can, take what you need approach. And there have been multiple community fridges popping up all across the world, especially Canada, United States, UK, India, and many more since 2017. For example, in the UK, a charity called The Community Fridge Network has put up 50 fridges in the region since 2017. Their approach is built on similar principles where they say take what you need, leave what you can, and they have a building created where they can put the fridges and lots of pantries as well. Another example of a group that does the community fridges would be in the United States. The group is called New Orleans Community Fridges, and they're completely run by volunteers, and it's different from the UK approach in the sense that they focus on mutual aid by coming together to get products to stock the fridge and prepare cooked meals to drop them off as well. Now, coming closer to home in Canada, there have been fridges popping up all across Canada, especially in Vancouver, Calgary, Regina, Waterloo, Ottawa, and Toronto as well. The interesting thing I've noticed with community fridges in Canada is that many restaurant owners are taking on this project to allow the fridges to be placed outside their venue and volunteer to help stock the fridges as well. One of the comments we've received from the Calgary Community Fridge Group is that the members of the community that choose to stock the fridges are stocking it with things they like. And this really emphasizes a sense of community and how it meets the community needs and caters to them specifically. So the community group in Toronto has also seen people starting their own fundraisers to support this project, restaurants cooking a little extra for their family meals, or adding a pay-it-forward option to help keep the fridges stocked. They have also seen BIPOC artists come together to make this unique to the area. Now, drawing from inspiration from these models that exist across Canada and globally, we wanted to bring the community fridges to PEI that cater to the needs of this community with a focus on collaboration and unity. So you may be wondering why it is important or what good will it do for the island. Well, as you may know, the National Zero Waste Council conducted a revealing research in 2017 about food waste in Canada, and they found that 63% of the food Canadians throw away could have been eaten, and that the average Canadian household wasted 140 kilograms of food per year. And this brings me to one of the biggest reasons for striving to implement this project, which is to reduce food waste. Wasting food means we're wasting the resources used to grow, produce, and distribute that food to consumers. Getting food from farm to table and then managing or disposing of food as waste also has significant carbon footprint, contributing to Canada's greenhouse gas emissions. Canada's 2.2 million tons of avoidable household food waste is equivalent to 9.8 million tons of CO2 and 2.1 million cars on the road. Diverting food waste to composting is better than sending it to a landfill, but preventing food from being wasted in the first place is an even better way to lessen our impact on the environment. And community fridges are one tried and tested way of stopping good food ending up in the bin. Secondly, the fridges will increase community involvement. People would be able to contribute to the fridges in their own and unique ways. Everyone would have their part to play in this project, and it would be completely run by the community. The foundations of this project that we want to implement on PEI is built on people supporting people, and it is not a charity-led approach. For instance, people can help stock the fridge, become a volunteer to help maintain it, paint the fridge to increase a sense of community, and the fridges can inspire and empower others to develop more community kitchens, gardens, cooking workshops, and so on, as it has already done in other parts of Canada. The list of possibilities is endless. We also acknowledge the important role that soup kitchens, food banks, and other institutions currently play in addressing food insecurity. But the community fridges are different from these resources specifically because it would be accessible 24/7, where anyone can give and take what they need with no questions being asked. In fact, the research done by Proof between 2017 and 2018 found that about 1 in 5 children on PEI lived in households reporting some food insecurity. The community fridges would increase access to food, especially cooked meals that families may not be able to make due to a lack of things that they need to make the dish. For example, in the past month, when we provided Christmas Day meals to over 300 people, we had multiple single-parent families come up to us and say how great it was that we were providing these meals, because they weren't able to accept the large turkeys that the food banks or other organizations were providing, simply because it was just them and their child, and the turkey would be wasted and they wouldn't be able to use that. But with the meal, they can still have that sense of Christmas and that turkey meal that they really wanted. And this goes to show again that the need for food still exists. And these fridges will not only increase the access to food, but it will also help address another issue on PEI, which is the stigma with food aid. We acknowledge that the community fridges do not address the root causes of food insecurity, such as poverty, that make it difficult for people to afford adequate and nutritious food, but the fridges have the potential to do so indirectly in the long run. There was an interesting research study by Fern Edwards from Australia, published in October 2020, where they looked at overcoming the social stigma by dining at the open table. They found out that the approach of a nonprofit organization called Open Table has been beneficial in shifting the stigma and reducing food insecurity and food waste. The group uses surplus food that would be otherwise thrown away and turn it into nutritious meals by having people in the community come and make it together and share the meals with others in the end. Edward further highlighted that bringing pertinent issues of waste, hunger, and environment together on a societal rather than individual level displaces the stigma by revaluing both the meal and those who consume it. So drawing inspiration from this, we want to pair the community fridges with For Love for Care's existing monthly meals. And once the restrictions are eased more with COVID, we plan on using some of the surplus food that we would get to prepare community meals together and share it with the community. So what our role is with this project is we're more of the behind the scenes players, and we will be helping an organizing team of community volunteers to help clean, sanitize, and maintain the fridges at least 2 to 3 times a day. And in other areas of Canada, the community has been very responsive in stocking the fridges, and there have been any major issues. So I have faith that Islanders will respond to this project positively as well. I would also like to point out that we will also be ensuring that the food placed in the fridges are safe. We have been in lengthy talks with the Environmental Health Department, in particular with Dwayne and Kelly Hughes on this project, about coming up with procedure that is safe for everyone. And this would mean that there would be some food items that would be excluded to be placed in the fridge, like rotten food, half-eaten dishes, raw meats, and so on. There will be a list of guidelines placed on the fridge so everyone knows what the expectations and rules are, and the fridge is maintained clean. And there will also be a small, quick little document where people can fill out what food they're putting in the fridge and what it is. And I would also like to add that the PEI Food Donation Act protects us from any liability for damages resulting from injury or death caused by the consumption of the food. Now, speaking to many restaurant owners, government officials, community members, and community fridge groups, we have really received valuable feedback on this project. And we have a great group of volunteers that are keen and interested to start helping out with this project. And we've heard from people like Chef John Pritchard from Pure Kitchen Catering, Trisha from Riverview Country Market, Emily Gordon McNeely, Mayor Brown, and many more in being interested in helping us set up, stock, and find a fridge to use. And so the community fridges have great prominence in increasing social capital and sense of community, reducing social isolation and food waste, and reducing the stigma. And we would greatly appreciate to have your support as well to move to the next steps to locate a pilot location, connect with more people, and implement this project. Thank you very much for listening, and I would be happy to take any questions you may have.
Do you have any refrigerators?
Yes, so when we were speaking with Mayor Brown about this project, he said that he will be able to help us find an industrial fridge.
Yeah, I'd be really interested in exploring the idea of putting one at the farm center near the Legacy Garden. We get an awful lot of food stolen out of the community garden. So I'm wondering, this might alleviate that.
Yeah.
If it exasperates it, of course, we'd have to get rid of it.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking that if we made something like that available where we let people know, here, you can take this, it might help.
That's awesome.
How many fridges are you thinking about? Are you just going to start with one to begin and then just sort of expand as it increases in success?
Yes,
Yeah.
so we're gonna start with one and see what tweaks we have to be made and then expand from that.
Yeah. This is a great idea, by the way.
It's fantastic.
It's fabulous. Like, it's really, and I really like the way that you're going to tie it to your existing community meals. Like, I think that's just, yeah.
The idea of sanitizing it 2 to 3 times a day seems really ambitious. In fact, that was like one thought I had while you were giving the presentation was who was going to maintain it and clean it.
Yeah. That's a great question. With in talks with the Calgary community group, I was also wondering the same thing when I was starting with this idea. And the one thing that they've answered is that they would have multiple people sign up for one time slot, and they've had no issues in people missing to go to check on the fridge. There have been lots of people willing to spend like 5 to 15 minutes just to check on them, clean, rearrange anything that needs to be rearranged, and just sanitize. And with the fridges that we would want to place, I would also want to put hand sanitizer dispensers next to it too. So we have that added protection that anyone who uses before and after the fridge, they can have that there as well.
So would you be looking for an indoor space to locate this first refrigerator?
We would look for an outdoor space. So
Okay.
with some of the photos that I showed in the presentation have fridges sheltered. With the places in Canada, we would have to winterize it. And so a shelter would be put in place next to the fridge just to make it kind of weatherproof.
Did you have a location in mind? at this
When I
time?
was speaking to Gordon McNeely, he was saying Browns Court would be a great starting point, or anywhere along the University Avenue route. But that's also something that I would love to hear your thoughts on, where the pilot fridge should be placed.
I would certainly agree with that. I think there's a lot of on-campus food insecurity, so either Holland College or
Even with
UBEI
the
camp.
COVID time, we got lots of calls from that area for the free meal,
Yeah,
and even grocery washer that kind
Yeah.
of them. So we were thinking about that area will be.
yeah. I think, either one of those sort of campus locations would be very good, yeah.
I definitely agree with that, and you might want to, like, I don't know if you're in contact with the food aid, student-run Panther Pantry.
And the chaplaincy
Yeah,
center?
they might be able to help you connect with volunteers that are on campus anyway, like in terms of Phil's question, for sanitizing the fridges and stuff like that. You know, if they're going by anyway, then.
Are they still
it might be a
operational,
good group to
Colin?
connect with.
I don't know. I know there's also at the chaplaincy centers a separate food bank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
Sister Sue is the chaplain. She's very interested in this kind of stuff.
In terms of location too, you might want to take a look at our food asset map and try to identify areas where there are the fewest assets.
Yeah.
And that would be a good place to put fridge.
This was so wonderful, Sandra. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's a really
Yeah.
you spoke so well to it, and I think
Yeah.
all the research that you've done is really amazing. And I've even seen a lot of successful community fridges and talked to some different groups about this, and I think it's so powerful. And I think for us as council, like, I think this is great for us to support. And then as long as we're balancing it in tandem with sort of our advocacy for wages and transportation and those kind of things, because in isolation, we're just going to have to keep filling the fridges, right? But if we can all work together to do that, I think that's great. And to the point of the location, it sounds like you're already thinking about that, but where does food insecurity exist definitely those campuses. And then as long as it's on a transportation route, like University Avenue, I think that would be great. And I really love the idea of having a shelter around it too. And then I guess the only other thing that I would think about is if it weren't one of those locations, maybe it would be closer to, say, Holland College and the Community Outreach Center, and maybe where some of the folks that do rely on hanging out downtown, where somewhere closer to them. They may not have access to a bus pass or transportation to get all the way up to the farm center. Not that it's that far, it is Charlottetown, but always cognizant of those things. And I agree with Phil's point. We can certainly help once we work through the food asset map, and once that gets launched, we can certainly work together and identify some locations. And that would be the goal of, that's why we started the food asset map work, right? Is to look, okay, this neighborhood doesn't have access to this. Let's implement a project like this. So,
And we could
yes.
certainly, definitely help promote it.
Yeah.
Once you find the
Oh,
location,
absolutely.
like we would be able to help with that, to
Okay.
potentially reach a bigger audience, for sure.
I wonder in
You know,
terms of-
someplace that actually comes to my mind right away is the new public library.
Mhm.
You know, as a place, I mean, I know this is not necessarily the spot right now, but I
Yeah.
think, you know, in terms of looking forward, the new public library, I think would be a great location for something like this.
And they've often struggled with these types of programs in the past because of lack of volunteers, lack
Yeah.
of refrigeration space.
Mhm.
So this might be the model that would work really
Would
well
work
for
really
them
well
as
in
well.
that space.
Like they would also, love to help promote it and potentially run programs like in tandem with it,
Yeah.
but not be ultimately responsible for it.
I was just thinking, the other side of what you talked about was preparing food together, so it would be interesting to consider the location in terms of access to a community kitchen as well.
Yeah.
And I know that, I can't remember the
Yeah.
guy's name a few years ago that was doing the cooking workup with the youth at Hillsborough in the community center there.
Oh, Chris Sally.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that was
That was-
also something
yeah.
to build on.
Yeah,
It's
and
easy.
then it's like an easy, like as an example, if you guys, where do you prepare your meals now? At the farm
Right
center?
now, yeah, at the
Okay,
farm center.
so then maybe that's like a low hanging fruit to put a fridge there so that you're just
Yeah.
swapping the food all the time.
So we've got like all kinds of places to put multiple fridges.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
It is. This is
Yeah, it's
really,
great.
and you did a wonderful presentation, by the way, Cindy. I think it was
Thank you.
just very impressive.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of your feedback, and thank you so much for all the input and contribution to this. And I look forward to working with you all more in the coming months
Yeah.
to implement this.
I mean, do you need a letter of support or anything like that?
It would be great to have just even a motion. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm allowed to make a
To
motion, but
endorse.
Well, I can motion.
Yeah,
that
you
we,
can tell us what
as
I'd
a
like a motion
council-
to say.
Yeah. Can I do that? Can we motion, I would put forward a motion to support Sandra for Love for Care in the community fridge project, whatever support that may be from the food council.
And just to add, one thing that I forgot was, once I wanted to present this to you, I also wanted to make a call out to the public just to get their input on the community
Just a
fridges
survey
and
kind of thing.
where the needs are, because
Yeah.
it would be great to just have everyone's input and
Yeah.
thought on this.
And Sandra, we may be able to support some of the initial, before you even reach out to the public,
Okay.
we could, Raisa and Katrina have been working away. We did some community questionnaires, and we may be able to pull some things from that. I feel like community fridges were brought up in one, at least as a suggestion somewhere along the way. So we can, I'll have a look with these folks at some of that initial data, and then what those questions were, and then you could maybe fill in the gaps that you feel are missing, yeah.
That would be great.
Is there any need for additional financing? Like, are you also looking for funding support or?
That's a great question. In terms of funding, my priority was just to have the logistics down first.
Sure.
I know once we have your support, we can definitely move this rolling more.
Okay.
And with making calls out, I know Mayor Brown said he would help with finding a fridge and maybe sheltering it. I don't know if anyone would come up and volunteer to do that, but
Okay.
that could be a potential area where we would need funding. Any support in any way, we would greatly
Okay.
appreciate.
In the spirit of inclusion, and you might want to consider like the carpentry programs, or even at some of the high schools, they, let me think of what, I think, I don't know about the semester, whether or not that would work out, but sometimes you'll find some really great teachers that do,
Yeah.
like they build stuff for the community.
For community.
Yeah.
So that might be another great way to like promote it.
I've
And
never thought about that.
yeah, and then they would have, like they would probably appreciate a little bit of funding for materials, but then, you know, it would be pretty affordable.
I can even ask tonight when I leave. I know the Colonel Gray teacher, so I can even do an initial sort of like, is this something that's feasible? And if not, then you would know and
Yeah.
reach out elsewhere, but I can
That
follow
would
up
be
with you
great.
first.
Thank you. That is all. Thank you so much.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you
That was
very much.
excellent.
Yeah, this is really nice to see this happening.
Yeah, really exciting.
Yeah.
Bernie, do you need a second on that motion? Did we officially
Yeah.
pass that?
Just want to be clear on the motion, if we can have it again, just to make sure, because I wasn't sure if it was just, or are we supporting it in spirit, or I didn't get
The logistics,
Yeah.
or I guess I don't know. I'm fine with everything, but
Do you want
I
to
think it's a
officially
great idea.
endorse, or do you want to write a letter, or?
What do you need from us?
Just anything that would be feasible for you, just even like a sentence would be fine.
We can easily write a letter.
We can write a
That'll
letter.
help you apply to funding.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
can, why don't we start with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
does that need to be motioned?
absolutely.
Yeah, I have one more question. In having researched where the other fridges are in other locales,
Yeah.
like, does it make sense to put one where it's easiest to stock food?
Mhm.
Or does it make sense to put it where it's where there's the most need for food, you know?
That's a
Like,
good
like
question.
I think like, for myself, it
Yeah.
would be easy for us to stock the refrigerator at the farm center from the Legacy Garden.
Yeah.
But if we had to go across town,
It'd be hard.
I don't know how often we check.
I think it's been a mix with the Calgary one. They were focusing solely on like one community fridge, and that was next to a common restaurant area that's pretty popular. And with the Toronto fridges, like they've had like 5 dispersed throughout the city, and like the Dundas Square, I think the York Street, which is also another popular street. So the ones that have been popping up have been in popular areas and populated like restaurants and sites. So I think it would be more easier for the stocking fridge aspect, where that's where they've been looking at the locations for it, but
Accessibility for the users, though, would have to be.
I feel
Exactly.
like
I mean,
that's
that would be the
no-brainer as soon
priority,
as
yeah.
yeah. So that's one thing that would be different, like on PI, I would assume, because everyone is kind of dispersed throughout the province, especially in rural areas where the access is harder for food.
I'm wondering, Sandra, and maybe this is pushing it because I know you wanted to start with one, but as a pilot starting with 2, maybe 1 at the farms, and then you can identify, okay, farm center stocking, and as a pilot, evaluating like what's been easier, and then the access somewhere like downtown. And with the downtown one, I'm wondering if it's an opportunity for us, even in our food asset map work, to start to partner with some of the restaurants downtown, for example. I know there are bylaws around these kind of things, but maybe that's something as a council we could explore, because that would be an accessible space for the restaurants, not the farm center downtown. But
Like
I
the
know you're saying one.
restaurants, they're pretty open to this idea,
Okay.
especially like John from
Okay.
Kitchen Catering.
Yeah.
But when I was speaking with Pauline and like the Murphy Care
Yeah.
Center, the owner wasn't particularly interested in this idea. But like I understand, like I
Yeah.
wasn't able to like
Yeah.
speak with them fully about this or
Yeah.
like do like a presentation like this, but it was yeah, there are some people that are on the fence about this idea, but it's definitely an idea where I can look into.
Well, you have to pilot it, get it proven, you know.
Yeah,
and then-
exactly.
Yeah, and then it
And
gets more.
collect some data, like
And collect-
if your volunteers can collect data on the usage at all, and
Yeah.
like that's gonna be really powerful for getting funding later on.
Well, and you know, someone else, Ann Thurlow, has her little pantry, her little free pantry program, which is similar but very different, obviously.
Yeah.
And she would have some really good data. Like she's been, you know, watching that quite carefully in terms of what, you know, what goes in and what comes out and how those products move. So, you know, she would be someone that would be maybe very interesting to include in this.
Yeah, I'm actually speaking with her on Thursday.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. That's perfect. I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you,
Thank
Sandra.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
So I'll put a motion forward then that we as a food council write a letter in support of the community project.
Yeah.
That
Did you
really
get
will be.
I'll second
Yeah,
that.
and we started a free
Second.
meal
Second.
also.
All in favor?
Useful when we did it 1 month there.
Motion carried unanimously.
There was not
Do you
much
want
people there.
someone to draft something, or should
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
a
you go got
couple
all these
people to?
What's that word?
Yeah.
It's a good
Do you want, like, we may as well just
We'll have to
do a
write a
letter.
letter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm happy to draft something and then send it
Sure.
to someone else for
Yeah.
said eyes.
I don't
Sure.
mind reading it.
camera
Yeah.
over there.
I'll read it.
Really good
I'll read
at
on
this,
that
so we
too.
can
Okay,
see,
so
who
Morgan
was
to
coming
draft,
to-
Yeah.
Karen to write, Megan to approve.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
I realized I'd fine, don't worry, I did the same thing.
Looking for the link.
Before we move on, Bernie, I had a light bulb go off while Sandra was talking, and I just want to get it out there before we move on and in advance of strategic planning. I had this idea, and I've seen other communities do it where it's sort of like an open floor sort of elevator pitch for funding, and I know that we struggle as a council to do projects on our own. We all wear so many hats. But this, for example, if this was like a policy hack or a project pitch, and Sandra came in, pitched the project, we vote on the top 3 ones that we thought of the pitch of the night and give out the funds. I just had that light bulb go off, and I was thinking that that could be something we embed in the project piece of strat planning. Anyway, we don't have to talk more about it, but I wrote it down and it was like, idea.
Yeah, just so it doesn't get lost.
Yeah.
That's what, 100 Women Who Care?
And they just donate, they put the money forward, but there's some great examples where it's like Thursday night, like a monthly Thursday, and we wouldn't have to do it that often, obviously, but I forget what community does it, but it's like Thursday night, meet at Receiver Brass Shop, open to anyone to come, it's open mic, and you stand up and do your pitch, and you've got 2 minutes, and the council votes on it, and they give out the funds, and then it's done, rather than us like struggling to do projects all the
But
time.
at the same time, our strength is in our networks.
Yes.
So we could be using that as more of a policy hack to say like, oh, we love this idea, have you connected with it? Like, we could attach it
Exactly.
to funding.
Yeah.
Which would be fun, but.
And us
to draw
attaching it to the
people.
policy.
But
too.
like, everyone that comes would be able to leave with something, even if it's not cash, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Or like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the provincial government does a great policy hack
Yeah.
thing, and some projects have been really successful out of that, and I just see a place because I love this project, and I'm very conscious of the fact that, okay, what's the flip, like what's the other side, and how do we support the policy piece to it, like how are we advocating for wages and transportation, all of that, so that's sort of the light bulb that went off, and I just wanted to get it out in the world and we can move on.
I think it's been written down.
Yes, I wrote down, I think you wrote down, circle back.
Okay, that was a great presentation. That was
Amazing public
very well
speaker.
organized and very knowledgeable.
She was worried about me only. She was said that I'm like, you are not there.
Next on the agenda is community conversations in about food reporting is the title. And,
Yeah, so Jackie Katrina sent out Jackie's report. Did everyone get the chance to review that? And I know that Raisa has been working hard at watching the conversations and pulling out all of that extra data that we were looking for, and that's sort of what we were talking about at the last meeting, that would require some additional work. And so there were some great summary points that Jackie had put into the report and recommendations. But as you can see, it's sort of more generally sort of like the event piece, and I don't really have anything else to say different than what I think we've already talked about, but given that the report was sent out, thought we could open the floor up for any further questions or conversation about the community conversations.
I was happy that Colleen pointed out the missing data. I was also curious about that, because I think like that's where a lot, like the please elaborate questions will give us a
Comments, yeah.
lot of information.
And the other thing-
Did you, and I just saw an email like whenever I got here, so
Yeah.
did you have a chance to pull that together?
So the one that I sent out just before the meeting was, Risa had gone through all of the videos and more just pulled out data from the videos.
Oh, okay, great.
And now she's working away at the survey.
Yeah,
Like
great.
Lisa
Say that's
Lisa
good.
mentioned
Yes.
this
Oh, okay.
project. and
That's
all
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
You know, let's wait maybe and have the conversation once we have the full data package.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I mean, we'll have it for the strategic planning as well. And
Yeah.
honestly, the preliminary, do you want to tell them? Do you want me to tell them about the preliminary? Do you want me to? Okay. What she's sort of seeing is that it's really not, like, it's looking very, very similar to the first survey.
Yeah.
Like, the trends are looking very similar, and that's just kind of early looking, but it's looking like nothing kind of too revolutionary is going to come out of it. Even the COVID questions are sort of, it seems like the people that took the survey didn't see a lot of change in their own food environments. I mean, we didn't get a ton of response. I think we only got 70 some responses the second time around. So I don't think we've gotten anything too amazing from it, unfortunately, but still some more analysis to do.
That kind of tracks with the demographics that we're reaching, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
we're
not
all-
super
yeah,
surprising.
and we seem to be preaching to the same choir when we do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
And
important
food
information to
security
have.
existed before COVID
Exactly.
Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah.
increased
About the
during
same
COVID a
thing.
bit, but yeah,
Exactly.
it's not like it wasn't there
Mhm.
pre-COVID, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. But I don't have anything else to add to the committee conversations about food. Like, I think they were a wonderful series, really impactful. I think they were some really great, rich discussions. We've got some good data from it. We were able to sort of get our name and faces out there. We partnered with some amazing experts, but food assets, if you will. And I think it gives us some good momentum going into strategic planning and what our approach for the asset map is from here. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? Be interesting to see the final report. I think we'll see that
Yeah.
with the strategic plan. Will
Yeah,
be
I think
incorporated
we'll
in
get
that.
it up to you guys before the
Yeah.
strategic plan.
It's nice to get the information as it
Yeah.
gets done. I
Yeah.
like the update.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have another question, not to make more work for you guys, but would there be like more of a citizen-friendly version of a report? Like, I appreciate the breadth of detail that
You
she went
know,
in for us,
That's a very good point.
but is there like a summary infographic maybe for our?
For the survey results, are you thinking, or for the, I guess it would be interesting, you're right. That's a good, it's a good thought.
I think she summarized it very well, and I think it could be, you know,
I mean,
it-
like we could put, yeah,
just
I
how
mean,
many people
she did a
attended.
great job, it's
you know,
just,
and-
Well, and the ideas that came out of it even.
Yeah.
I feel like, I can't remember, did we do any kind of, that was a long time ago, did we do any kind of summary infographics on Let's Talk Food?
I wasn't around, I don't
I
know.
don't
I think
we
it was
did.
just
We
the
posted
report.
full
It was just
report.
that full report.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to do like a little snippet series on, even just on social media.
I just like an infographic, like a really snapshot.
Yeah, it could be,
Thing.
another thing that Reese's been working on is editing up the conversation so we can have access, like people can have access to them.
Like little
Sure.
And like, so that we can have them on the city's website and we can share them on social media, so anybody that wasn't in attendance can watch. So it might be nice to
So
sort of,
those, like, the full videos aren't available yet?
no,
Oh, okay.
Well, they are, but they're like
in pieces.
in pieces and not edited and
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So they will be released soon, probably. But it could go along nicely together. It could be like a,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So is that something that Katrina and Raisa will be doing, like an infographic, or
I
is that
feel
something that?
like you guys have already done a lot of work on this, so feel free to say no.
I may
Totally just put
follow
the
up on
report.
that one
Yeah.
with you guys, kind of do a bit of an assessment of how much work we think that would
Absolutely,
be.
Yeah.
sure, absolutely.
I'll let you guys
Just a
know either way,
suggestion.
and if one of you guys is interested in taking that on, if we don't really have capacity, then that would be an option, or.
I just had to do an infographic for work and found on PowerPoint, there's all sorts of templates, and it wasn't near as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and we also
Just
have
for
access to Canvas, so.
Yeah, you just have, and there's tons of data.
Yeah, there's
like,
tons of
just
data.
in
Yes,
this.
I think we can probably do something, but
Okay, and I'm willing to help on that
But also
if you
raise-
want.
Oh, thank you, that would be
It was-
great. I'll make a note of
It's
that.
kind of entertaining, like,
Thank
push
you.
came to shove.
Even just some, like,
It is
help figuring
fun.
out what we want to include.
What are the
in
high
highlight
points?
things.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah, that would be
Nobody's-
awesome.
nobody's
So I
playing
think Teresa and I were
4 hours
actually
of
just
video
talking this
anymore.
morning about how research heavy their work has been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Might be a fun project.
Yes, yeah, there you go, yeah.
And I don't mind either helping with
Okay.
that, just to wrap it up, I'm just, like I just thought I would see it.
You've done
I've
a lot.
always wanted to know this.
And this wouldn't have been a part of Jackie's contract at all, so she's completely done all of her work. so.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, for
Oh,
sure.
I know what I was gonna ask. Do we have any sense of, like, so we have the location of people, do we have any sense of age and education?
We didn't ask
demographic?
that on the surveys, there were just way too many
Yeah,
things to ask.
yeah, it's a bit of a shame, because that age group would have been super helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, hindsight.
We can sort of, I mean, most of the unique
Yeah.
users, we know who they are. We didn't reach like a hugely different
Yeah,
group of
okay.
people. It's sort of like the Pauline and Davids of the
Yeah,
world. So
yeah.
we could even sort of loosely, like youth or
And not
adults,
to report, but just for our own.
for our own knowledge, we could loosely identify that ourselves, I
Because I
think.
think when I think about, are we making progress, I think about who did we connect with? So if there's 172 out of 7,000 contacted or whatever, we get more,
Mhm.
but did we get broader diversity also, like
Yeah,
5 years from now or something?
yeah,
So-
exactly.
So assigning them an age category would be one piece. Anyway, yeah.
And if we were to do, say, another, I know that we had some good conversations about, potentially doing a podcast, and we talked about how that was very similar to basically this series, the interview portion. So if we were to do another community conversation type thing, we now understand like the back end of like, okay, sending out the registration and send like all that sort of, we could include some of that information you have to fill out before you register, and making sure that it is information that we're going to use. We don't just ask information for the sake of information. Like, I don't need to know your gender if I don't need to know it.
No.
But yeah, it's a really great point. And we could, if we do more series, which I think there's potential, we can talk about that when we do strat planning.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
we know how to do the registration and follow-up surveys now. So.
Yeah, just to look at reach.
Yeah.
I think that was the theme that certainly came out.
Yes.
Anyway, okay.
Please give Jackie our thanks for all the work she's done.
I will, yes.
And thank you to you for all the work you've done. And
Thank you, yeah.
the council has acknowledged all the work that's been for these community conversations. I much enjoyed them. It was nice to meet new people on those, networking with people who are working in food, in the food industry, in the food systems. And it was energizing because we only meet once a month, so to participate in some of those is invigorating. It's energizing, educational, very educational. So yeah, I hope we do it again. So if there's no more questions on the food report, next up is the community food questionnaire results.
So that's, we're
Would be the
in
same.
the works.
Yeah. So wait until that's complete.
Yeah, it'll be sent out as soon as it can be. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, we're going to skip to D, the asset map.
Yeah. So I guess I just kind of wanted to take a moment to sort of summarize where we're at with the asset map, propose some thoughts for moving forward, and kind of how that can look and moving us towards a release of the asset map to the public in some form that is still useful, albeit potentially not complete because it never will be fully complete. So at the moment, we have this very extensive list of food assets that IT's Brooklyn, the city, has turned into a prototype interactive tool that I think you've all had a chance to see. And so it's not comprehensive, but it will always be a living work. We'll always have to add to it and revise, and there'll always be more things to do. With the community conversations about food, we did get some input in terms of assets, as I'm sure you've seen in the report. There's not a ton, but there's a few comments about that. We had a few comments about functionality of it that we can get IT to tweak. But as I said, it isn't comprehensive, never will be, but it is still of great value. So Megan and I have talked about kind of the places that we see need for small updates prior to launching. So the things that we've seen, if there's some verification of addresses needed, we've noticed there's some showing up in wrong places on the map. So just like a little bit of work there to just kind of clean everything up and make sure it's all presenting properly. There's the incorporation of any assets that have been identified through the community conversations about food or the community food questionnaire. We also need a method to include any assets that don't have physical locations. We've talked about doing some research into cold storage in the city and school food programs. We need sort of an inclusion criteria for farms outside the city. That was something that came up a lot in the community conversations, is that we're not really showing an accurate representation of the food system in Charlottetown without some of those. There's a few technical updates that City IT will need to take care of, and then a decision on whether or not to include restaurants, and if so, how we'll do that and what the inclusion criteria would be there. So that's kind of the list that we have compiled. So what I propose is having Raisa do some of that work. She's on board to take a look at that. And she would work with Megan and I and our IT support on that. So the way that I'm sort of envisioning this would be that, today we can kind of decide what those things that need to be looked at are. So I proposed a list. Of course, some of you may have thoughts and ideas to add to that or tweak. Raisa would work away at that. We would kind of work at getting the updates made. It would be circulated to you guys for final comments. We would get that integrated and then we would launch.
I have some thoughts on this. I've been really thinking about this over the holiday. As for the restaurants, I know we got into that last time, and I did notice that at least one of the comments mentioned, very broadly, restaurants in Charlottetown.
Yeah.
I think we should leave that alone for now and see if the general public expresses more interest, because the initial committee said that no, they should not be included just because the criteria is very messy. And kind of to speak to the other things, like, would it be a better use of our time to, instead of kind of attempting to address these as a wide committee, like, should we form some kind of a subcommittee for people to, or kind of schedule regular committee meetings, like we talked about, like once a year, twice a year, to address these things?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me, but before we launch, like, what are we gonna?
Who is going to do that input?
Definitely. I looked over the suggestions. I didn't see anything that was like, I think personally, make the little tweaks that you need to do, verify the addresses, all those things, absolutely. But in terms of how do we include non-physical assets? Should we include schools? Should we include farms outside this? Should we include restaurants? I think the committee needs to see, first of all, after the launch, what more people say. And also have the time to potentially research what other municipalities with food councils are putting on their assets too.
Yeah, so that was sort of one of the intents of Raisa that she was going to do.
Okay.
Research
Yeah.
into that. That was sort of what I was proposing there.
Okay.
Make that clear.
Okay. Well, in the interest of launching it, maybe we just want to, do whatever IT kind of stuff you need to do to launch it, and then form a meeting. I don't know. That's my suggestion. I feel like we could get into the nitty-gritty of it in the community, but not everybody's going to be interested in it, and it would be a really good use of a subcommittee. That's my opinion.
And that's kind of where it came from too, so that sort of model
Yeah.
makes sense. And I think there was a lot of thought around restaurants, and it was just so messy. So if there's a committee who is tasked with looking at criteria around restaurants, if that seems valid, that would make sense. But I think launching it, because it's not bad.
It's not bad, and I think if we launch it, we will get a lot of that community
Get some
validation
feedback.
that we've been
Yeah.
seeking.
Yeah.
Once it's put out there, I think that we'll get a lot of feedback
Yeah.
and a lot of that. And I think that's what we should welcome and encourage, and I think that should be part of the launch, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that this is not complete, we know
That's-
that this
that's right.
is.
And that's kind of my, like,
And-
we can't, maybe we don't need to make all these decisions on our own. Maybe we wait for some feedback, give the, you know, the public a couple of months to kind of give us some feedback after the launch. And then with, you know, some research from other provinces and other municipalities, kind of come together and make a more informed decision, rather
Yeah.
than more decisions just based on the capital.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I mean, and you know, and it is a community asset, so let's let the community take ownership of it, finally, you know, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that, just before we finalize that?
What do you think, Megan? Does that
That-
sit well with you?
Yeah, it's all fine. I mean, I'm happy to hear the yes or no to restaurants because I will be frank in that I feel like there was a subcommittee to do this, and then it's sort of I'm the only food council member now that has been doing this, and so I've continued to try to seek feedback and
Yeah.
opinions and help from members, but I do feel a bit on an island, and I'm relying on Katrina a lot, and now we're lucky to have Raisa, and so if we could form a subcommittee, that would be great. I think that's why we keep coming back to the larger meeting to have these conversations, because there is work that goes on. Like I've spent, even since the conversations, many hours on the asset map works even still. So I'm fine with that. But I think that we can't wait to form, I think if we could form a subcommittee tonight, because we will then be doing strat planning and we want to get ready to launch this. We want to launch it no later than the end of February. And the restaurant piece, I'm fine with launching it without. It's just a conversation that Katrina and I were never a part of that initial conversation. We couldn't find record of it. So it's just important to have rationale when we do launch it. And I think absolutely the plan is always to have community weigh in and provide feedback on it. And that's how we're going to update the map. I would really love though, and that's where I think a subcommittee will be important to form if that's what the outcome of this conversation is before the launch, because there are assets such as the PEI Food Exchange, Veg PEI, like all of these really important food assets that aren't on the map right now. And I know I hear what you're saying, but I think there's no reason to include them. And it's just like we just have to have a conversation with IT how we include those and how we would like to see them included, because they don't have a physical address. And just something like that I wouldn't want to just launch without. I'm fine without the restaurants, but some of the pieces that Katrina did mention I would love to see on there when we do launch. That way community can see what the potential of it is, and the full picture of it.
Yeah, I think it just requires a little bit of research to see what maybe other people have done in terms of non-physical assets and a conversation with IT as to what, I don't think we're dealing with quite as maybe sophisticated of a system as some municipalities are using, so what's possible in terms of integrating that, or whether it's just like a drop-down list, or what we do.
So do you have a list of non-physical assets?
They've all been pulled out of the original set of data into a sub-tab so that we could, because they were
I see.
screwing up
Oh,
the data
okay.
to create
Okay,
the
so
map.
they're there, okay.
We've
We
already
have,
separated
I don't
them.
know if it's comprehensive anymore,
Yeah.
but it was, yeah.
So it would be like a design piece for IT?
And a
For
bit
the
of
map, to Include them
research.
in there somewhere?
Research from Raisa and design
Yeah.
from IT, yeah. But I guess I just don't want to leave tonight and then not having, like we've said, okay, we need a subcommittee, absolutely agree. I think it's only going to be like a yearly or biannual sort of review. That's not a problem. And sort of the ongoing feedback that we get from community. But before we launch, I just feel like I'm a little bit on an island as a member with city. So if someone is really interested in this and would like to join me on a subcommittee for that.
So we have two pieces. One is, are we okay with launching this in February, the way it is? We know it's a living document, we're gonna have to add, there's gonna be some research, some design update. Are we all okay to do that? Do we need to vote for this, or just,
I guess it needs to be, so we need to just do that, clean up the data. We want to figure out a way to add in those non-physical aspects.
So there are two things that we want to really do.
Those are the two things.
that have to be done before
And I
launch.
agree with that.
Okay.
And I guess the decision is yes, are you okay with launching, and do you want to see it again before it launches? And who wants to see it before it launches, if that's the case?
And if everyone's busy and no one's interested, that's fine too.
I'm okay not seeing it, just seeing it live.
I mean, if you've all seen the preview.
Yeah, I'm not,
It's not gonna change
yeah,
drastically.
yeah, I'm not, I think that we can launch it without us all having to see that, I'm not. But I do think, I do hear what you're saying though, that there are those two elements that definitely need to be.
Yeah.
The other stuff
Addressed.
can come later, like
Yeah,
all the
absolutely, so
restaurants.
I hear that very loud and clear, so
Yeah.
and I also hear what you're saying, that you've been kind of carrying this one all by yourself and making sort of decisions in a vacuum, and that you'd like some help with that, so I get that, I really do, so I'm just trying to see if that's something I want to do or not.
Well, but maybe we have the conversation at the strategic planning, and we've really gotten away from our subcommittees, and Jackie struggled with that because we didn't have a communications subcommittee.
Yeah.
And Katrina and Jackie ended up doing all of the communications, and it was actually in her contract that food council members would help with that, and it wasn't the case, and so maybe at the strategic planning, we do talk about what those subcommittees look like
Yeah.
again. We really got away from them, and,
Yeah.
and I'm fine to have that conversation then, as long as they're, whether this is a part of like, if we identify it as a project subcommittee or more specifically something like that.
How much time do you think is involved in getting these last two things done? I mean, the verifying the addresses, that would not necessarily be work that you would have to spend, like how many of those are there, I
I
guess?
think it was
Oh,
130
great.
some. But I don't think it's gonna be too intensive, like I.
Most of them are
I think
fine.
it's gonna be a couple of days' work at
Yeah.
most.
Okay.
So,
You set the date at end of February? Was it
I
end of
don't wanna
February
launch
you wanna-
later than that, but I will
Yeah.
say that if it's not gonna be, if this is all we're doing, I don't think it's gonna be that much work.
No.
I got a media request today, the strangest thing happened. Somebody read, somebody read the meeting minutes from the media, and.
Was it a guy from the Guardian?
I think, I can't remember.
Yeah, see,
what.
Mondays are slow news days, and we all get crazy calls on Mondays and
He misinterpreted
Tuesdays.
a note in the minutes, kind of,
Yeah.
that he interpreted it as we had a message to get out and we weren't getting it out, and then we wanted help. I don't even know, I reread the minutes and I'm like, I don't even know where I got this from. And so I got a call from our one-person communications team, going, what message would you like him to cover? And I'm like, I don't want to turn down media coverage, but I don't know. And so the only thing I'm thinking is if we can, and it does, I don't think it was urgent, it was just sort of like he was gonna work it in somewhere.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if we can push this through more quickly, I think there'll be some media interest.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was kind of at a loss. And
So someone did contact me about the community conversation, and I meant to say that is that someone had contacted me about the community conversations, or I think about the asset map.
okay.
It was before Christmas.
We did
Pardon
get
my
some additional
terrible memory.
weird random additional coverage of the asset map. just
But
a
like
little.
I haven't seen anything, I haven't heard from them.
Oh, maybe they.
So like I think it was just like someone trying to pull together an article and it never
Yeah.
got approved. or
Fully
something.
materialized, yeah.
Anyway, but again, like kind of to link back to like the infographic and the release of any
Yeah.
kind of report, like the
Yeah.
report, even to release the report and put together some kind of press package with that would, like that's news. I
Yeah.
think that's news.
Yeah.
I mean, and there is someone at Comms now that could put together a media package,
Well,
right?
not exactly, but kind of.
Oh, okay,
We have somebody who's like peripherally sort of taken the lead, but
Okay.
he's not. But we have insight on contract at the
Oh,
moment.
okay.
So we are like select what we go to them with, but
Sure.
we do have a bit of support that we didn't have before.
Okay.
So
That's fine.
I guess I'll just bring it back to the asset map specific,
Yeah.
the two things that were on discussion there, just so I can clear my head, because I don't think it's not clear for me that we made that decision, that we're going ahead to put the asset map live
Yeah.
by the end of February with 2 or 3 updates.
Two, we're gonna
There's
just
2
verify
things.
and like clean up the data, make sure everything's showing up where it's supposed to show up, and probably
Non-physical assets.
and non-physical assets.
And that could be just an action, we don't need to vote on this, that's the council.
I think
agrees.
we will move forward with the launch with those, yeah, under mine and Megan's direction.
If that's okay, like, do we need to vote that you're okay to launch?
You've been working on it.
I think,
think it's an ongoing project. I don't think we need to approve it. do we?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so but you guys are all
But
comfortable.
like, all like kind of unofficially, I think, yeah,
give you
like
a heads-
any decision that you guys make in terms of like how to include the non-physical, I support.
Okay.
Do whatever
and
you think
you're
makes
okay
sense.
getting an email from me saying this is happening and the PSA is going on 2 days and
Yes.
just so you're aware, be very.
FYI.
Yeah, FYIs are fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Or just the launch, honestly, just be like, this launch today.
Okay.
Don't give me a heads
Okay.
up, just send
Sounds
Yeah,
out.
whatever
Perfect.
works, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll run with it and get it launched and potentially couple it with the release of some infographic material and stuff. If we can get that together in time.
Okay.
Sounds good.
The second piece, Morgan's idea of a subcommittee.
When
I
is
know we
our
talked
strategic
about it.
meeting?
We talked
I
about
think
it
it was
having
next
at
week.
the.
It's next
strategic-
week.
Next week.
Yeah, we can
I
talk.
think it'd be a good idea to
Yeah, let's leave
form
it till then.
committees
Yeah.
at our strategic meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, I
agree.
think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
that'll go to a strategic meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for the asset map for this evening.
Mhm.
Before we move on to something else, anything with the asset map? We're good? It's exciting to see that go by.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get that one off the desk.
Well,
Yeah.
in its
Thank
current-
you,
in its
Raisin,
current
for
form.
being here to
Thank
help us
you.
do that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And you too, of course. But it's nice to have an extra set of hands, I'm sure.
Next thing on the agenda says new meeting time, but then we have, I think we'll reverse it, new business.
Yeah, the only thing, and I think we'll discuss this at strategic planning, but do you just want to give that update quickly?
Yeah, about the video that we were talking last meeting, we stopped it, right? For the monthly video that we were talking about.
Yes.
One person came up to me and said that he will do it for month 350, the video, taking the video and editing. So he said that he wants to work on for 7 to 10 hours, so that his charge is 350. So I was thinking everyone is interested in going ahead. I am okay because, from environmental health, Kelly Hughes, Tanya is okay to do our video. And from the UPI student, one student came up and she is interested in that video, and one chef is interested in the video. So a couple of people are there already interested. So if we have figured it out, we can do one video per month and not every month. So we don't have to pay every month $350 or even $500 for a month. For 2 months, we can pay $1,000 and say a long video, we can take it and split into 10 months. So we will get all the videos what we want, and for the educational, whatever we want to decide, we can play on it. So if it's interested, I don't know, we can talk about it. I was thinking that it will be neat, we can do it. 350 is not that bad, right, for 1 month, he said.
Yeah.
Then for one video, 750 is,
For the other quotes, yeah.
people were talking 750, so he said 350, so I was thinking 350 is not, he said that he can do the good editing what we get, and he did a couple of short films, I have seen it, so it's really good, so I was thinking, okay.
So 350 per video, is that?
For 1 month video,
For
he
one,
said, yeah.
So it sounds like we could.
So he was thinking,
Kind of like do shooting together.
together.
okay,
No, I
yeah.
was thinking
per
that we
month,
will
yeah.
do a couple of shootings together.
Yeah.
So he said he will do a video for 4 hours. He wants 4 hours to shoot a video. So I was thinking, why not we will arrange a couple of in one shot. So 4 hours he will take
It
it.
doesn't matter.
And
And
then
we
se-
can split it
Yeah.
for a couple of months. So we don't need that much money.
Yeah. And he said 7 to 10 hours of work, so
Work,
with the
he
editing,
needs to do
350.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For the 350?
for 350. So 10 hours he wants to do it. So it's a good deal, I was thinking. So
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I thought, okay, I'll talk to you
Yeah.
guys and see.
Our budget is 3,000.
And you think, and the quality of the videos that you saw?
Yes, I
were
can
good?
show, but it is not in English, but he had, did last month a video here in PEI, a short film.
Uh-huh.
So one in, from Canada, so
okay.
yeah, some couple of Indian, like Malayalam community, they
Oh,
did a
okay.
short film. It was really good.
Okay.
So it's video was and
Okay.
editing and video,
Okay.
everything was really good. So I was thinking it's not too bad. I can show the video that
Sure.
I can send that link. You
Yeah.
can see.
Put it on right now?
I don't know. You can put Friday Fox. It's his video name is Friday Fox.
Friday Fox?
Yeah.
Well, I can do it on the laptop.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, so you can see that how he did the video
Yeah.
and stuff, so you guys will know.
And it's great to hear that because the initial, I remember when we initially started this conversation, it was just to have like an easy output, like a couple of just educational
Yeah.
things as an
Educational
output.
theme is so
And it wasn't meant to be like a huge,
Huge,
huge
yeah.
project, a huge amount of work.
Friday Fox?
Yes, Friday. Where is it? Friday Fox.
Came right up for
It's in
me.
you just video.
Oh, I have dog coats.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Video, just avoid the video then. Take it out the video. YouTube it. Is it go to YouTube or?
Yeah, it might be easier to find if you just go directly to YouTube.
Yeah. I might have in my phone.
Friday.
I'm gonna go to Instagram.
Nothing's coming up.
No.
I might have.
And we already had, you had sort of
They
filtered
have
through the
the
calendar
video,
too,
so-
so you can just
Yeah, she has
There's
topics.
been a lot of
pick
work
from those
that's already put
topics
into it.
and, yeah.
You know, yeah, and
Yeah.
Sheena has put a lot of effort in.
If you've lined up the speakers and the budget's approved, I don't know. If you feel like it's we
I
found an
was
easier
thinking,
route,
Yeah.
Yeah, and another point too is the end of the fiscal year is fairly rapidly approaching,
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
We don't want it to look like we didn't spend any.
No.
Yeah, okay, let's get spending.
I mean, and with that and the strategic
No.
planning, you're actually
Yeah.
getting close to the edge of your
Yeah.
budget, but
Yeah,
I'm saying in a couple
absolutely.
months, you're gonna have.
What did we approve for this?
3,000.
3,000.
3,000.
Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah, so
that,
it should be at
his
that
2,000 we are giving to him, it's neat, right? We will,
Yeah.
he said he wants to work for one video 10 hours for 350, maximum he said I will take 500. And I said, yeah, just keep it 350. Then he said, okay, up to you.
Is,
So,
is there a timeline that he needs to know? Or
so I said that today we have a meeting and I will talk to them.
last meeting, we decided to table this.
Table
until
is,
after
yeah,
the
so
strategic.
that's why I didn't email you guys, so I
Yeah.
thought, okay.
I don't know if we want to wait
I
till after the strategic planning, if this isn't a rush,
No,
to see
it's-
how it fits in
yeah.
our strategic planning.
That makes
Or-
sense too.
Yeah.
Makes sense to
that
do
makes
that,
sense,
but-
that makes
But at
sense.
the same time, if she has people lined up to
Yeah.
do it.
Seems like a lower
I mean, it
hanging
is
fruit
only
than
a-
the December meeting we had.
like-
December, when we talked in December, we didn't really have a plan. We didn't want Brad to do all these hours of editing because that's personal time. Like I feel like it got tabled because we were sort of circling around it and
Yeah.
And he was going to do
The-
podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, and then we
Yeah.
had a podcast.
I think the original reason we wanted to do this was because we just wanted like an easy educational output to reach community and show that we're here and doing something.
Yeah.
So we identified a calendar of themes, like maybe doing a monthly thing, and felt that like a 30-second clip would be worthwhile, and then we got away from it just because we couldn't find the people for the quote. But if it is a low-hanging fruit, like we've got the person to do the filming and editing and
We've got the
it's not that
calendar.
much-
And the calendar and the people to be in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine to go ahead with it, and then we could talk about maybe the themes or things like that with it when we do meet for strategic planning, like with,
Yeah.
and how they're coupled. We had good conversations about how they're coupled with other work that we do. Like, is it coupled maybe with a policy brief? Like, maybe this topic requires us to write a letter, or maybe it's us recommending a specific policy to city council, because that, I think we talked about that too in the initial conversation. But we could talk about that at the strategic planning.
Yeah.
Community
Maybe you could do a
fridges.
promo on community fridges.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess the other thing is our meeting's only a week away, right? So
Yes.
Yeah.
should we just wait?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will say that maybe in the meantime, just like from the city's perspective, we'll probably need, we'll need like a written quote
Yeah.
that kind of encompasses everything
Yeah.
that's gonna be
Yeah.
done, like, so just making sure that all the videos are covered and how many months' work that will be in the total cost.
Okay.
And then we may also want, and this can wait till after strategic planning, but just because he hasn't done like video or like, work for the city before, we might just want to have like a quick meeting with
With him,
our
yeah.
semi-comms department just to kind of go over the, so he's not
So we
supposed to
can
be
decide,
a
how
comms
many
department.
months
Okay,
or
yeah.
how many day, how many hours he wants to do the video. We can
Yeah.
Yeah,
bring a
yeah.
team before we talk to him.
Yeah.
So we know that what we are doing and we can tell him that this is all we are doing and
Yeah.
how many hours you want to do and.
Yeah, I just
we'll
want to
give
get
it-
in writing for
Yeah.
the city,
Yeah.
because we have all those other quotes, I'm not really concerned about us getting additional quotes, we have a ton that show they're all much, much higher than this,
Yeah.
but just so that we have like.
Well,
a
even if we
formal-
just had a scope of work kind of thing.
Yeah.
The scope of work and
Yeah.
what the cost would be,
Yeah,
yeah, in
just-
writing.
Yeah, so if he's able to provide that even right away.
Yeah, if you can
That would
get
be-
that in like the next week possibly, and then
Yeah, just,
we can
yeah.
finalize everything at the strategic.
And then maybe at the strategic planning session, we could maybe finalize what some of those topics might be or something,
Yeah.
you know? Because I think, yeah, let's just move with this.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you,
That's
Sheena.
awesome. Yeah,
Thank you.
That's great news.
Persistence pays.
Did we have any other new business? 7:45.
Brilliant.
We are doing really well. If there are no other comments or items to be discussed,
New meeting time?
new meeting time?
Yeah, I apologize, everybody. I'm taking a course and it's every Wednesday night. So how are Tuesdays for people? Like how's this, like the third Tuesday of every month?
Tuesdays are great for me.
Seems to be
Yeah,
fine.
mine's okay.
Amazing, so I'll adjust the recurrent
Yes.
meeting request to be on the third Tuesday instead of the third Wednesday.
Yeah. There's just so many calendar items.
I know.
So are there ones that we, like, can you cancel those? Or should, the ones that are,
So it should move when I move it.
okay, all right, okay, okay.
I'll edit the existing one.
Okay,
It
perfect,
should
just
move
do
in your
that,
calendar
okay,
if you accept
perfect,
it.
okay.
And we'll keep the same time, 5:30?
I'm good with that.
So we're saying third Tuesday of the month?
Third Tuesday of the month at 5:30.
So the next one's this February 16th?
Well, it's my daughter's birthday, I probably won't come. It's one Tuesday, I'm sorry.
Just bring her here.
I don't think that's what she's in for,
I love
but.
some cake. Yeah, bring her.
Although
And
you're
the cake, bring her in the cake.
I'm totally.
Okay,
If
well,
we can
thank you
finish
everybody
before
for
7, I can
helping.
make it to my son's basketball games.
Perfect. Let's
Yeah.
try to be efficient so Bernie can cheer on his son.
Yeah.
And we're so lucky, but I think we're the only province that
Has
is allowed
basketball games to go watch.
to go to, scholastic sports.
Yeah,
Hmm.
It's amazing.
that's awesome.
Kidding aside, that's anything else?
Yeah, still wants to go.
Okay, guess we're all in agreement. I guess I'd have a motion to adjourn the council meeting. Meg? And seconded by Colleen.
Colleen. Yeah. And I just apologize for being late. I assumed it was a Zoom meeting and didn't find the link. And then panicked and thought, okay, I can make it.
And I did get a text from Brad sending his regrets.
Yeah, send an email.
You did? Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Nice
Oh,
to
I
see you
just
all.
gotta turn off the,
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Katrina.
Nice to see you all. And thanks, Raisa, for agreeing
Yes.
to do
Yeah.
all that
Thank you,
background
Raisa.
work for us.
Very much.
We're lucky to have you.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.